Hi, Chuck.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
How are you?
Well, how are you?
Good.
Admit all.
So when you finish, just stop it like you usually do.
Just in a meeting.
And then just leave it because she's gonna convert it for me.
Okay.
See any citizens showing up yet? Oh, never mind.
Chuck,
Hello, Johnny.
how you doing?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
All right.
Hey, Daryl.
Oh, Chuck,
Doing all right?
I'm doing fine. How's your world?
It's quiet, peaceful,
And nice and clean outside
nice.
with all the rain.
That's right.
Yeah, I
That's,
finally got my yard mowed between rains.
yeah, I did mine on Thursday and it needs it already.
Yeah. But better than the dry.
That's exactly right. We know that's coming.
Yeah.
Hello, Jeff.
Oh, now, can you hear me now?
I can. How you doing, bud? Mr. Mayor, how are you?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay. Can you see me?
If that's you, Rex, no, we can't see you. We can hear you.
All right, I'm getting it.
There you
up.
are.
Hey,
Hey.
So really, Christina, all we're really missing is Matt, right?
And Charlie.
Oh, and Charlie, yeah, I'm sure he'll be here. But Matt, we know for sure won't be here, right? Isn't that right?
He said there's a chance he might make it, but we weren't counting on it. So
Well, we got a couple of minutes yet.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone's curious before we get started, you see Rex and Pete are up there. They will actually be joining the commission next week, or excuse me, next month. They're going to replace our two empty slots. So they'll be going before the board, or the names will be going before the board on that first issue of sorry, the first meeting of June. Is that not correct, Mr. Mayor?
sorry, had to find the button. Christina would have to tell me who is replacing Charlie. I thought the other one started tonight. I thought that we had,
Were they voted on at the last board meeting? I thought just Daryl and John and Jeff were nominated. So are they
Yes,
both
I
on
think-
tonight officially?
I think you're right. I think you're right.
no. Well, we inquired before the meeting, and Rex is filling RJ's position, so he actually will come on tonight.
Okay.
Pete is taking over Charlie, so he will come on next month.
Okay. So Rex went before his name was nominated by the mayor at the last Board of Alderman meeting, and it was voted on. So he's official.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, that's my understanding.
All right. Good deal.
Yes.
Well, welcome, Rex.
You look
Thank
official,
you.
Rex.
Thank you.
The man of the hour. And we are live streaming, so just recording and we're streaming live.
Okay. Well, hello, Charlie.
Still trying to connect. There he is.
There he is. Hello, Charlie. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
I got you.
Yep.
Okay, too many buttons to hit.
A lot of buttons. Okay, it is now 7 o'clock, so let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for April the 27th. If everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes, if there are any questions, comments, additions, or deletions, please state. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion. Don't be shy.
Powell, motion to approve.
Okay, so a motion on the floor to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, good deal. Thank you. Nothing under scheduled visitors and guests, nothing under unfinished business. Under new business, the very first thing is amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri, section 405.690, landscaping policies and procedures. Mr. Smith.
Yes, first, would you guys like me to share the screen of the packet, or do you have the packet in front of you?
I've got the packet in front of me.
Okay.
Packet. I've got the packet.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. At any time, just holler if you want me to share that so anyone can see it on the commission. Yes, so we've briefly talked about this previously at the last meeting. This is just becoming the official meeting to take action on this ordinance. Just to recap, this is their current landscape policies and procedures ordinance. We are updating this ordinance to accommodate allowance of an issue of a TCO or temporary occupancy permit year-round instead of just during the few months of a non-growing season. So this will accommodate a lot of the activity in the city to get these temporary occupancy permits for the outstanding items such as the landscaping and any final setting of any fine grade items in the yards.
Okay, is that it?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Well, it is under new business, so it is a public hearing. So I'll open up the public hearing. And is there anyone there at all tonight? Have you seen anybody wandering around the OC? Okay, so we'll just go ahead and open and close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
It looks really thorough and good. My only question is if it might be easier for some of the developers just to allow the city to go ahead and use that escrow funds to do all the work. And I wonder, is there a fee built in for the city to do that work?
Yep.
If it should come to that, or what would be the procedure?
Yes, I'm not sure if this was in the last packet, not part of the ordinance. There is a fee calculation form that goes along with this. It's similar to our land disturbance deposit form or the public works escrow money forms. There's a money identified in there to accommodate, I believe it's like $250 per tree, $50 per shrub. And all these items are outlined in there that they fill in. And at the end of that, there's a multiplier 1.5 times. So once we get that estimate, then we can multiply 1.5 times factor. So that does increase the cost to cover if we had to go out there and do that.
So there's a good incentive for them to do it.
Yes.
Themselves. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Cameron, I had a question.
Yes.
Would that be subbed out, or is that something the city employees would be trying to do?
I don't know if we have a firm direction whether we'd sub it out or do it in-house. It would kind of depend on the situation, the size of the job, and the current capacity of the city employees.
Okay.
We would still have to sub out as far as buying a lot of the material or buy that from a grower. If it's fine setting of meter lids, it's something our own employees can do. Constructing a sidewalk, if they're repairing a broken section, then we have an on-call contract with a concrete company, or our public works guys could do that. In a lot of cases on the bigger projects, it would probably be subbed out. We would have someone that would get bids from and get them to complete this because of the complexity of the job.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move we accept as written.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to accept amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri, section 405.690, landscaping policies and procedures. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Charlie Powell,
Aye.
Daryl McGuire,
Aye.
Jeanne Hutchinson,
Aye.
Jeff Garrison,
Aye.
John Dillon,
Aye.
Matt Bettinghouse is absent, Rex Winslow.
Aye.
Motion carries, and just to confirm, that was Garrison that motioned, but Daryl McGuire, you second the motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, good deal. Thank you all. Okay, number 5, you will see that it falls under discussion, but it's written as an ordinance. And there's a reason for that, because that was actually going to come before us tonight to take action. That's on the single classification for residential zoning. And because of a great deal of research by the staff, including the city attorney, and a few subsequent meetings, we determined that there are actually more questions than answers. regarding this, and it is such a large thing to try to put through. We just don't want to make mistakes by rushing it through. So what we've decided to do, what the chair decided to do, was to move it down into discussion tonight and see if there's anything else that anyone wants to talk about with respect to this single zoning. I'm going to have Cameron kind of give us an overview of some of the discussions and then move right into what it is that you all want to discuss. So there is no time. We thought about tabling this, but we decided not to table it because of a fear that we have to put a specific date on a table, and we weren't going to be ready for it. So, my view is we want to do it right, and we want to do it correct, and not necessarily in a hurry. So that's why it's been moved under discussion. And if Cameron, if you kind of give us an overview of some of the questions that came up or the roadblocks that came up, and then we'll turn it over to the commission and let them have a discussion.
Yep. So in your packet, there is a marked up ordinance. We took R1C as an example and kind of marked it up to kind of draft the thoughts for this new RSF zoning. So as far as the actual ordinance, I think we're pretty good on what our thoughts were there, and we've marked up the kind of the setback criteria and the dimensions of those lots. However, as we've been digging into this more and more, and I think what's going to happen is we'll probably continue to follow up with other municipalities as well. The concern is once this becomes in place, what happens to the existing ordinance or the existing zoning? We felt like as staff that we didn't want to take on rezoning the entire city, all 4 single family lot sizes to bring them in conformance or compliance with this new ordinance. If we left them alone and just started using the new ordinance, then they are now legally non-conforming. And so if something happens to that structure, to the house, if they want to expand on those, there would be some difficulties and hurdles. For instance, if a tornado knocked the structure down, chances are they can't rebuild it right where it was because it may not conform to setbacks. And this is primarily in kind of the downtown area where a lot of the lots are already a smaller lot. So we just weren't quite positive on which way to go with that. We felt like we didn't want to try to take on rezoning the entire city. The second scenario was maybe leaving R1C in place and R1D and removing R1A and B and only rezoning maybe 40% of the city. So that's something we've had recent discussions on there to consider as well. The third thought is to leave the 4 in place, create a new zoning, and just have some kind of policy procedure in place that we no longer will permit or approve a zoning of the older zonings, and all new zoning would come in as RSF. So that's kind of the discussion we got going on right now. Again, we just didn't have enough time to try to confirm the direction we want to go, and we're still reviewing this. We have reached out to Springfield and we're trying to get a copy of their ordinance. I don't believe we've received it yet. They took on rezoning the entire city along with some commercial and industrial, and it really didn't go over well. And they suggested not doing that based on some of the experiences they had. So again, we're just still trying to dig in to find out the best way to approach this and proceed with this new zoning.
Okay. Commission, any thoughts? Any direction you'd like to give staff? Yes, John.
I have a question. If we leave the zonings in place as they are now and then agree not to honor any of those going forward, wouldn't that solve the problem of a precedent being set overnight in a way? So you talked about a tornado. If you rebuilt on that particular lot, it would fit the old zoning, but it wouldn't necessarily hinder the city going forward with this new approach if we decided to just do that only. Is that what you're saying there?
That is one of the scenarios that we've discussed. And again, I don't know the exact direction we will propose to go, but that is one of the scenarios. And as we've been trying to clean up all the alternative and options, now we're creating an additional zoning as opposed to cleaning up some of the existing ones that are in place.
I think the question I would have then would be, I was so impressed with the presentation from last meeting and pretty much got on board with this whole idea because of the way to me, it speaks about the future of our community, and I sort of like the way it was all going. I understand the difficulty in leaving a set way of doing things that's been in place for so many decades. But I would tend to agree that if you went that route where you kept all the zonings in place for everything that's existing, so that precedent is set by those lots, and then make that break clean right there, it might be easier to allow more of the city to go in the new direction in a more seamless way, as opposed to creating maybe even more confusion with leaving options dangling.
Any comment on that, Cameron?
No, like I said, we're still trying to work out the details on which way to go. And that's one of the ideas. And I do agree with what John is saying. I think that would be probably the cleanest, and I want to say the easiest. It's just legally how we can draft that and create that policy.
Anyone else have a comment?
I
Yes,
would-
Jeff.
Chuck,
Yes.
Cameron, this may be a way too big a broad stroke, but living here my whole life and seeing things change, you always refer back to the grandfather clause. Is that something that is even being looked at with the way things are set now with current zoning of current residential lots? Is that too broad a stroke to keep everything? You see where I'm going? I'm not, the words aren't coming to me tonight.
Well, and we haven't discussed the word grandfather in this situation, but I think what John was saying and what one of the options are is to leave those existing ordinances in place to address existing zoning or existing properties, but however, not assign new properties with that zoning. So it'd be a similar situation the way I see it from what you're describing.
Okay, so I'm just saying it a different way. Okay.
Anyone else? Daryl, anything to add?
No, not really. It's, some of it I like, some of it I'm a little concerned about. We'll just wait and see what staff comes up with here.
Jean Ann, anything to add? Charlie?
Yeah. Am I live now?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay. One thing that was talked about last month was the possibility of private access easements. And the lady kind of discouraged it, and I would strongly discourage it. I know Daryl's been on this a long time. We've had private access easements in the past where at some point the people wanted the city to take it over. And of course, they're not built per city code or anything. I would just discourage private access easement in general. Now, maybe specifically there's an area for it. But just in general, I think the city ought to be cautious about allowing that.
Okay. Thank you. Rex, any thoughts?
No, I'd agree with what John was talking about. It just seems like the cleanest way, and what Cameron was alluding to as well. But this is my first month, so I'm trying to catch up.
Okay. No pressure. Mr. Mayor, anything to add?
Just a question, what would the rule be or the regulations be if an existing subdivision that was designed for 2 phases, but only had the first phase preliminary platted, and they came back after this passed and wanted to do the second phase, or maybe there were, I guess if the second phase wasn't platted, they could go in with the new smaller lot size. I'm just wondering, well, once something is preliminary platted, it can't be changed. And so I'm thinking of a subdivision that's not built yet, or is in the, yeah, I'm not explaining exactly what I'm feeling, but I don't, I just, well, Larry Barnes, for example, that's a good one. Silo Ridge. Cameron, did he preliminarily plat the whole thing, or he just preliminary platted phase one, didn't he?
No, he preliminary platted the entire thing, but he's going to final plat phase one. So
Okay,
what you're asking is, we've had the same discussions, and that's what we got to determine as well. So what if there's a R1A lot in the middle of a subdivision that hasn't been built on? Can they request a rezoning? I think right now the thought is probably not. They're going to have to stay with R1A. However, if a subdivision, because the zoning request is going to happen before the plat, say they've came through and requested to zone the entire subdivision R1B. They want to come back and take it back through the process to request the new zoning. I think in that case, staff would support that or allow that or continue on with the application to take to the commission if nothing's been built out there. If they've already platted, then I think then they're going to have to go back and go through the rezoning process and the replatting process. So not saying they can't do it. My thought is, if nothing has been built in that subdivision, there's no reason they couldn't take the property back through the process to make that request.
okay, well, then if that whole subdivision, I'm just using that as a hypothetical example. If that whole subdivision has been preliminary platted, but they're only going to file phase one, and they start building in phase one, and that was R1C, if I remember. So what if they wanted to go back in and rezone phase two for single family and do smaller lots? I know the neighbors would raise Cain, but that's something they could file for rezoning if they chose to. Is that correct?
Yeah. They would have to file for rezoning, and then once that's approved, they'd have to file for a new preliminary plat.
Yeah.
So they'd have to do both.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Just post it.
No, not much to add, other than to the mayor's question. We had talked about, and we're still looking at that, the possibility of putting some requirement on there that a lot must be, or a property must be more than 25 or 30,000 square feet before it's eligible for rezoning. So that would permit an entire subdivision that hasn't built to come back, but it would stop those people that have a half-acre lot from doing small lot splits. To get the RSF, you'd have to have it would be intended for new development, or for maybe some of those little 1 acre lots that are kind of scattered throughout. If somebody wanted to split one of them up and put 3 or 4 houses on it, it would work for that as well.
Okay. Anyone else?
You can move it.
Okay, so Cameron, what is next?
So it'll be back on the agenda. At the next meeting, we'll determine if we're going to keep it as a discussion or put it on for action. But I think it's a matter of internally trying to sort through some of the details and come up with a way that we are going to propose to bring this forward. Not sure quite the timeline on this one.
Okay. All right. Well, good deal. So that's it. Everybody's finished. No more input. We can move on. All right, here we go. Next thing on the agenda is the single family ordinance discussion. Mr. Smith.
Yes, this was just a continuation of the second single family zoning that we had brought up at the last meeting and some of the discussion item. We continue to have this in the packet about that second ordinance. However, we did at the end of this, under commissioner comments and questions, some of the feedback that we got from the last meeting, we did incorporate that into this for some of the discussion items. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that one. But at this time, we have no time frame on bringing a proposed ordinance to the commission.
Okay. Commission have any comments or suggestions on this? Any other directions you'd like to give them? Okay, then we'll just hold this over till it's time to bring it back. Okay, next thing up, commissioner comments. Charlie.
Yes, sir. I have no idea how long I've been on the commission. Probably not quite as long as Daryl, I believe. I think I left the commission about the time Daryl came on back in the 80s sometime, and had a gap and then came back on. anyway, it's been a wonderful experience. Got to know a lot of wonderful people, and really kind of neat to kind of be part of the city and kind of figure out how to, know the city people, kind of know what's going on in the city. Anyway, it's been a great 30 years, maybe plus or minus. And I just think it's time for me to step back and spend a little more time for myself and traveling. We got a brand new granddaughter up in Wasilla, Alaska, and gonna be looking at as soon as they allow us to fly, going up there. Anyway, it's just been a good experience, but I think it's time to move on. And I don't know if Rex is taking over for me or he just coming in, but he's my next door neighbor and great guy, and will serve the city well.
Thank you.
Good deal. Well, I'll tell you, you've been a steady rock for us for an awful long time, and well, I'll tell you, we're going to miss you. We're going to miss that calmness and steadiness and the information that you provide with your expertise. And we, really want to wish you well and really thank you. And we do have a plaque for you. If we could get Christina. Oh, go ahead, Charlie.
And also that I am resigning from the health department. I stepped down as chairman of the health department, and Raquel Morrow is now chairman. I'm staying on long enough to finish our post office building project and try to get our new administrator up to, helping her get up to speed through this COVID-19 thing. But by the end of the summer, I'll be off of that board as well. And it's been a great experience. Not quite as long as the city. It's been about 19 years, the health department.
Well, if I had a say in the matter, your name would be on the side of that building. John.
Yeah, Charlie, I just want to say, man, I'm going to miss you.
Well,
because you're the guy, you're the expert on the board, that engineering experts. I'm really going to miss that. I look to you for all, for the leadership, for all that stuff, because I don't know a thing about any of that. And best of luck to you, but I'm going to miss you.
I know you, when you came back onto the board, 4 years ago or whatever it was, you said one of the reasons because I was on it, to give support and whatnot. But and I'm gonna miss it. But I appreciate you saying that. But the city, when Daryl and I were back in the 80s, we did it all, Daryl, didn't we? I mean, I was the city engineer, volunteer, and now the city has got consultants, and I just strongly encourage the board to recognize the ability of these consultants and support them. Support the use of consultants.
Yes, Daryl.
Yeah, Charlie, it's been a pleasure serving with you. And I can remember back when we were reviewing the plans and stuff, and we finally had the developers put the square footage of each lot on the plans, because, we were good sitting there taking calculators and figuring out how many square foot and stuff. And it's came a long ways. It's came a long ways.
It absolutely has, and I'm really proud of the city, the direction it's moved, and very proud.
Oh, good deal. Well, as I said, we have a plaque for you. It's down at the city hall, and Christine will hold it up and show you, or Cameron can. And I'm gonna read what it says here real quick, if you don't mind. It's got the City of Ozark logo on it, and it says presented to Charlie Powell in appreciation. Now, this indicates 20 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Ozark on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the mayor, and the Board of Aldermen, Ozark, Missouri, May 26, 2020. That'll be there for whenever you're ready to get out and about and swing over to City Hall and pick it up. And again, I just want to thank you so much for everything that you've done and what you've meant for me. And Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to say something, please feel free.
Well, nothing that you haven't already said, except just to echo that. Charlie, it seems like I remember Connie being on, wasn't she on the board or was she a board of aldermen years ago?
She was on planning and zoning, and she was chair for quite a while. And she really controlled Steve. Well, she didn't control Steve Horton. Nobody controlled him, but she was very aggressive for several years. And anyway, she got off and has no interest to be involved again in it. But yeah, she gave it 100% there for a few years, and Daryl was on it when she was
Yeah.
there.
Well, I remember in my early years as a realtor in Ozark back in the 80s, I remember, being before Connie, and she was very good, but she was very tough. And I say that complimentary. So you tell her I said hello and best wishes to both of you as you travel. Thank you
Okay.
for serving.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, anybody else care to add to that? All right, good deal. Again, congratulations, Charlie. We are going to miss you.
Thank you.
Okay, I mentioned earlier about the reappointments, and I'm thankful that Daryl and Jeff and John all agreed to stay on the commission. They're three very different commissioners that bring three different perspectives, all needed to the commission. So I thank you all for agreeing to serve another term. I welcome Rex, as I said earlier, and we'll recognize Pete and welcome him in June. Any other commission comments or anything else anyone would like to make before we adjourn?
Hey, excuse me, Chuck,
Yes.
just want to remind a minute, if you do have any other thoughts on that second single family zoning, please continue to email them to Cameron, and we'll continue to kind of compile everybody's thoughts and distill everything down into a single document. So if you still got any ideas, please let us know.
All right, good deal. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Next Tuesday, we vote on the use tax. So everybody, please vote. Since this is being recorded, I ought to be careful what I say. So please vote and make me happy. Thank you.
All right, staff, anything?
As we discussed at our agenda meeting, right now the anticipation is we'll continue to have these Zoom meetings through July, the meeting of July, and then we'll kind of revisit the upcoming meetings after that. We'll either continue having them on Zoom or we'll have them back in person. And if some people don't feel comfortable, they can Zoom in. We can still provide links to do both if we need to. So, but just right now we plan for the June and July meeting to have Zooms.
All right, good deal. Okay, anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, Charlie. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck, Charlie. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks.